Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again for another weekly update on news and information about DCS World. I'm your host, of course, Prickly Hedgehog. I hope this video finds you well. What an exciting update we've got this week. Let's delve into this huge newsletter which features a lot of interesting things with regards to the implementation of 2.7. It's only a week away. April 14th is the slated date. That, of course, is if everything is going to go to plan. 2.7 is coming. Like I said, the 14th, it's about 5 days away. I can't wait, and I know many of you are the same. Let's talk about what they're going to introduce to us. It's a lot of cool stuff. Not just clouds, some other stuff too, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So, the clouds that they're going to introduce are a range of presets to choose from in the mission editor. They're also working on a cloud generator which is capable of creating on-demand visual representations of much larger clouds such as towering cumulus and cumulonimbus as well. Now, after the initial launch, they're going to continue the development of natural cloud cycles. I'm guessing that means more of a dynamic weather system, which will include things like severe weather behavior, thunderstorms, and fog. So in other words, the environment that we're flying in is going to be a lot more dynamic. Yes, we know that there's a dynamic campaign, but this is going to be the visual aspect, which is a whole separate thing and is going to contribute to some really interesting things that we have to factor in now, including where we're flying, how we're flying, our mission editing for waypoints and routes, as well as our targets and if we can see it and all those kinds of things, and even the way in which we're fighting in amongst the clouds, especially if you're a World War II aircraft and you're primarily using visual to acquire and maintain target acquisition. That's a lot of stuff to consider. It's going to be a thing that's going to continue to evolve. And what they're saying here is that they're also going to have to work now on weapon and radar atmospheric models as a result of the clouds, which require significant updates at the logic layer. It's going to be basically person-hour intensive and requires rigorous debugging. They're basically thanking us for the patience that it's going to take to support that work as they move towards steadily enhancing DCS World as a whole. And then that's a pretty good statement because it's going to affect everybody. It's not just a specific module or anything like that now. This is going to be a major improvement visually. And as a result of that, it's going to be fun just to fly around and enjoy the scenery. I mean, sure, you get that with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Well, now this competitor, we don't have the full world, of course, but what maps we do have are going to be pretty cool. Remember that Syria is going to get some updates, and we're going to get the Marianas as well. So we're starting to see a lot of stuff being implemented in the game, and all of that visual stuff is going to be complemented by these really, really cool clouds, and I'm very, very excited about that happening. I'm sure many of you are the same. Let's talk about propellers for World War II because they've got a nice visual enhancement for that. If you haven't checked out the video, do so. It looks really cool, and this is exciting for the World War II fans amongst you, for those who fly the Warbirds almost exclusively, particularly so. Now, a notable update, as I've said here, is this unique and new technology with regards to these propellers. It basically means that they can calculate the exact location of every propeller blade. That's pretty intense. This offers the possibility to draw a very accurate representation of the spinning propeller dependent on the type of prop, the number of blades, specific RPM, and the prop pitch. Ooh, a lot of P's there. Sibilants. Sibilants. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. So this approach allows for smoother blade transitions from still to idle through to taxiing and takeoff, as well as proper transparency from all viewing angles, aircraft speeds, power settings, and blade pitch. So pretty cool stuff. Like I said, there is a teaser video. I'll throw a link to that in the description below for you to look at if you haven't already seen it. Let me know your thoughts on that. I think it's a great addition to the game. I love the fact that Eagle Dynamics is, giving plenty of love to the World War II birds. It is a popular genre, especially with IL-2 out there as well, and a lot of people do play that. And it's interesting comparing the two genres and what's on offer. There's some cool campaigns out there for the World War II birds, so don't forget those. Don't ignore these aircraft. They do have their own, quirks and idiosyncrasies and they are fun to fly as well. I wish I would spend more time with it, but it takes a while to learn these aircraft. It's as simple as that. There's only so many hours in a day, and that's the nature of the beast. Let's turn to a very complex aircraft, the F-18C Hornet now, with some of the new features. Now, of course, this has been discussed numerous times by Eagle Dynamics with WAGs implementing these, and we've covered some of these topics before, so this is just a refresher. This of course, is going to be part of this 2.7 update. Remember that Eagle Dynamics is hoping to pull this bird out of early access, so to speak, and into a standalone module similar to the A-10 and some of the other modules in the game. So it's going to be new functionality for the Hornet based on these features. One of this, of course, is the AT-Flare, which we've talked about recently. The targeting pod that will be available in parallel with the existing Lightning targeting pod. The AT-Flare includes new field of view and zoom options, and the ability to slew the sensor line of sight when in scene mode, which will allow us to display or see the display of waypoint markers and expanded coordinate display options. So some pretty cool stuff with that. I was very impressed with what that looked like in conjunction or in parallel, at least, with the Lightning pod. And looking at the two side by side is what I was actually trying to say there. I don't think you typically put both of them on the aircraft. I think it's one or the other. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they provide similar functions, but it was cool seeing what the AT-Flare could do by comparison. So again, a neat feature. Now we also have the coupled autopilot mode, which allows the aircraft to automatically fly to a set location. That location could be a waypoint, attack station, or target location when in auto delivery mode. So again, another cool feature there. I haven't really played around with the autopilot all that much in many of the jets. I fly the F-14 a lot, and it really doesn't have a particularly sophisticated autopilot, but it does come in handy when you're trying to hold a particular point and you need to fluff around with some other stuff in the cockpit without losing, or flying all over the sky, which is very easily done when you head down in the cockpit for more than a few seconds. All right, now the new radar modes include the automatic wide acquisition mode, which WAGs talked about this week, or the WAC, WACQ. This allows both a wide auto acquisition scan and the ability to slew the center of the automatic scan area, which is neat. Now, the two new modes for the AGM-88C HARM anti-radiation missile will also be available. We've got pre-briefed mode, or PB mode, which allows the engagement of hostile surface targets or surface radar targets from long range, and the self-protect with pullback option, which allows automatic harm engagement of SAM threats, as well as the ability to disable the weapon in flight. Very, very neat. So there's instruction videos on those things which we have seen over the last few months, and a couple this week alone, including that A-10 reference video about the stabilization of the Maverick, which was really cool. Now, in addition to these things, they are going to release the AGM-84K SLAM-ER land attack missile, offset aim points, or OAP, the RAID single target track mode, or STT mode, and new flares with increased carriage. I'm not sure if the F-16 can carry more flares than it currently does, but they're going to increase the ones for the Hornet, which is really, really neat. And hopefully there's going to be more information coming up soon, but again, we're looking forward to April 14th. Boy, big update, like I said. Okay, lastly here, the HARM development report. And this is titled sort of Predicting Optimum Missile Flight Profile and Envelope Range Limits. And basically, Eagle Dynamics has been busy in math class working out a lot of trajectories and distances for the HARM missile. Now, at first they said they updated the HARM missile autopilot to make lofted trajectories, what a mouthful, more realistic. This is going to be a mouthful, this whole thing. Stand by. Whew, here we go. This is now not only limited to constant climb angle, but also includes semi-ballistic flight with an optimal angle that provides a smooth trajectory, increasing missile velocity at impact and minimizing time of flight. Optimal loft angle is computed by the aircraft, and then it's passed to the missile prior to launch. To calculate the missile range envelope, we used a regression model, which required us to perform, get this, tens of thousands of HARM launch simulations in varying conditions. The generated data was then passed to our regression model and compiled into just a few equations with several dozens of relevant coefficients. Solving these equations with respect to different variables allows us to obtain different types of usable data. For example, on the Viper's HUD, you can see the maximum missile range for current flight conditions, and pitch or turn angle required to hit the target within missile range. Missile range depends on the aircraft velocity, altitude, pitch, and azimuth to target. Thus, the missile's range envelope is bounded by a 4D hypersurface, which we can represent partially for fixed altitude and velocity, which defines a section of the 4D surface. Now, the image that you're looking at here hopefully gives you a visual representation of a section with range depending on target azimuth and aircraft pitch only. Now, when you see stuff like this, I think it's a good reminder to think about the amount of work that Eagle Dynamics puts into the simulation, and the simulation not only of the aircraft but also the weapon systems. That's no mean feat. So when you feel like, booting and giving a kick to Eagle Dynamics on things that you're frustrated with, I'm not trying to defend Eagle Dynamics anyway here, but I think it's fair to say that sometimes people don't necessarily know what they're talking about. And I'm not trying to be facetious here or pick fights needlessly. But, sometimes you see some unkind comments, which, yeah, sure. Eagle Dynamics say, there was a recent interview with Wags recently was it Casmo? With regards to mistakes that they make. And they own, mistakes. And Wags was talking about the problems that they had with the Viper, and they introduced it too soon. It didn't have a damage model. It was largely incomplete, of course, at that juncture. And, they owned that mistake. But it's also fair to remember that they are working very hard on a lot of stuff. I mean, tens of thousands of launches, simulated launches, basically to get the data that they need to make this weapon realistic. That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of passion by people working very hard to produce a realistic simulation for us to play around with. And sometimes when you have AI and calculations in games, and not just with Eagle Dynamics' in-game engine, you see it in other games as well, where AI doesn't always work out and things that look a little bit glitchy. It's very easy to be disparaging. It's like, this looks like shit, But in reality, of course, it's important to remember that that wasn't their intention. There wasn't an intention to produce something that looked crappy. There was an intention to try to give us a realistic simulation or recreate some really cool things that still need some polish, And I think overall we're looking pretty good at a really decent simulation, and I think we need to be mindful of that, ladies and gentlemen. If these clouds appear in the game as well as they do in Wags' videos, we've got a bloody neat looking sim, and I think we need to be applauding Eagle Dynamics for the work that they've done on it, and be cautious about being, shitty and mean for no good reason. So, I'm not trying, again, to be the rah-rah here for Eagle Dynamics. I'm not getting paid by them. I'm not getting any support by them financially in any way, shape, or form. But I'm just passionate about the sim, and I'm passionate about the work that they do, and I like to applaud, good stuff where I see it. And that's what's going to keep me making videos and bringing you the good news and sharing your thoughts and discussions about this. So let me know what you are thinking in the comments below, what you think about the new clouds, and if you're looking forward to them, because it's cool stuff. Now, it's been a busy week for me. This video I hoped actually to get you earlier than today, but the last couple of hours have been interrupted constantly by work. I've had numerous phone calls and texts on stuff that's going on right now, such as life. It's been several good takes being interrupted by a phone call or a text that I had to then answer. And I'm working on some other videos. We have some stuff planned here. I've been flying a little bit with Juice this week from the Air Warfare Group. Another plug to that channel. If you haven't checked them out, do so. They offer some really professional videos on some really good stuff that many of you I know are interested in the game and looking for instructional or tutorial information. We are looking and kicking around doing some stuff together. So yeah, cool stuff. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to more learning myself, doing some formation flying this week, just getting, some seat time in both the Viper, and which I hadn't flown in months actually, in fairness, and also the F-18. And yeah, it's going to be some fun stuff coming up. So stay tuned for that. in the interim, lend me your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It costs you nothing subscribing. If you don't like, then hit the down button, the thumbs down button. YouTube doesn't care. Be honest with your feedback. Be constructive with your feedback. I enjoy the comments and discussions that we have in this channel. Keep it up. Like I said, I really enjoy reading everything that people write for the most part. Talking about the game, what you're looking forward to, what you like, what you don't like. And Eagle Dynamics pays attention to the community, believe it or not. Wags has talked about this, and I've seen other... there was Nineline was talking about this. The forums are important. The channels like this are important for maintaining contact with the developers and giving them constructive feedback about how the game is shaping up and how it works even in your computer too. Those are important things. So let's wrap it up. We'll see you next time. Take care out there, everybody. Carry on flying. Hopefully I can see you online flying some of these times, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. Cheers, guys. Prickly out.